And welcome back to Subculture on CentralCoastRadio.com. Well, of course, we have been telling you a lot about Games Week 2023 that is coming up. That is the Melbourne International Games Week. And we've been getting some guests on the show to chat a little bit about Games Week and what you can expect during this amazing week. And this morning we're actually going to be chatting to Narayana Johnson, who is the composer of the music behind Cult of the Lamb. And we thought we would get him on the phone today to talk a little bit about not only his career, but also Melbourne International Games Week as well. Welcome to the program, Narayan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Now, mate, we are so excited to have you on the show because you have had such an amazing career. You went from doing Willow Beats as an artist to composing for a video game. Tell us a little bit about that journey and what it's meant for you.
Yeah, for sure. Where to start? So Willow Beats, that it was me and my niece making electronic music together, and that kind of just started. I was just making beats at the house, and I had brought a microphone, and she was around, and I said, "Oh, do you want to record some songs?" And she did, and then, I put them on SoundCloud, and they got a bit of traction. I think we got some radio play, and then, we just kind of started going hard at that. We did that for about 7 years, but then we were both feeling a little bit stagnant, and we wanted to try some different stuff, so we kind of stopped that project, or we put it on hiatus. And then not long afterwards, I met Julian online, and we met through Twitter, and we worked on a really small game together called Unicycle Giraffe, which is like a game where you're balancing on a unicycle and you're a giraffe. It's a simple phone game, but it was really fun to compose for. I think I did like 3 tracks for it, and then a few years later, he hit me up and said, "Oh, we're working on a console game now, and we'd love to have you on board." And I said yes, and that was Cult of the Lamb.
Had you always been interested in gaming, or was that just something that came completely out of the blue when he first contacted you?
No. I actually contacted him because I saw that I could see that he made games just by stalking his profile and looking at his display picture. And so I could see that he made games, and so I hit him up and just said kind of like, "Oh, do you make games? I love games." But yeah, games have like always been a big part of my life. Just from growing up playing like Donkey Kong on the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
Through to having a Game Boy and playing Zelda and Pokemon, and just always and game music had always like inspired and influenced my production and my music. So it was a really natural fit to go towards games, and yeah, it's been amazing.
It's really fascinating because I find talking to a lot of gamers, you'll talk to them about music, and perhaps music's not something they're really big into, but then when you start talking about like classic themes from games and things like that, they start to admit, "Oh yeah, no, I do love that." Like, was that where your interest first came from for music as well, from Donkey Kong and games like that with the classic theme tracks there?
Yeah, so like I definitely growing up and being a young kid and playing those games, they definitely stuck out to me, and I was like, "Oh, I really like this music," even being like really young. So yeah, it was definitely that, but no, in high school I just started. I think my mum made me start getting guitar lessons, and as mums do, and I just took to it really quickly. I kind of really had a knack for it, and so I was able to progress through that. And so, like, playing guitar was definitely the start of my musical career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk us through what happens when someone talks to you about or gives you a pitch for a game and then you have to sit down and compose. Like, you would have gone through an experience where someone said to you, "Right, there's a unicycle with a giraffe on top of it." Where do you go to then as a composer to start thinking about what tracks would work for this?
Yeah, so I kind of generally there'll be like some pictures, and there'll be a bit of a like a mood board, and the developers will give you a bit of a description of what's happening, and then you kind of just take influence where you can, right? So like you might be like, "Oh, okay, this unicycle is riding this giraffe is riding a unicycle," in a forest, and then so for me, I'm like, all right, what instruments do I think of in a forest? And I think of like maybe like marimbas, and there's just certain types of instruments that I might think of, and also like flute for me. And that's like I think that's personal, but that's just kind of my ears, right? I'm just working to my ears, and so I'm like, okay, that works for me, and then that's where I start, and then like the rest, and I'll kind of maybe write some melodies on those, and like build the track around that. So yeah, you can just kind of like look at what you're being given or what you're being told, and try and figure out a way to make that work.
Definitely, yeah, and like with Cult of the Lamb as well, like there's two very different feels for that game. There's kind of like the darker cult part of it, but then there's also a cute element to the game as well. What was that like, trying to find that right mix of music for Cult of the Lamb?
Yeah, for sure. So it definitely is that. So in the bass, it is more like chilled out. You're meant to be kind of like sinking into the tracks a bit more, going about your busy work. You're looking after your followers. You're building them beds. It's meant to be like more of a relaxed kind of vibe. And so that's like where I'm kind of like using a lot of like cute instruments. I'm using like a lot of instruments that I think are cute anyway. So again, like I used a lot of marimba. I use flute. I use drums that are kind of really tight and punchy, and it all kind of has a little bit of like a lo-fi aesthetic. It's kind of really cozy and like warm. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you're in the cult, it's like when you're out dungeon crawling and you're fighting other cult leaders, then it's like very like frantic, and it's intense, and it's more like scary, and it's more dissonant.
So tell us, how long would it normally take for you to come up with a track, like from start to finish for something like Cult of the Lamb? How long would that take you? Because it sounds like you do absolutely everything yourself, like with all the different instruments. So how long would it take you to come up with a track and complete it?
It can really depend. Sometimes it can be really quick. Like if I'll often when I'm starting a track, I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall. So I'm just like trying to find something that works, and I'm just throwing like heaps of different ideas as quickly as I can. So, and I'm like basically just punching through different things until something kind of clicks, and then I'm like, oh, this could be the start of the song, and then that can generally grow into a full track. I generally like to have a week. Yep. To write and finish a track, but like, yeah, it just depends. It depends so much, but I generally say like a week on average, maybe.
Awesome. Now, bringing it back to Melbourne International Games Week, tell us a little bit about how you feel about being part of Games Week, and what will you be doing as part of Games Week this week? Yeah.
So, to answer your first question, I feel great about Games Week, and to answer your second question. We are holding a ritual at Fed Square. That's on the 5th, and that will be at 8:30. So it's going to be a full Cult of the Lamb ritual. I'm going to be up in this podium thing in an occult robe, doing kind of musical stuff, and we're going to have like a full show, a full kind of, I guess, a ritual, really. It's hard to explain what's going to happen, but it's going to be awesome. We're going to be projecting onto this wall, like the Fed Square wall. There's going to be a 4-meter high puppet that's like leading the ritual, and then there's going to be a bunch of other puppets kind of roaming around and talking to people and just doing puppet stuff. That's going to be really fun. So that's on the 5th at 8:30, Fed Square. Be there or be square. That doesn't rhyme. It's just the same word twice. But then we have we're doing an orchestral event. So this is going to be like reimaginings of the Cult of the Lamb songs, but arranged for a small orchestra. So so it's going to be a 7-piece plus myself, so 8-piece in total. And we're doing an orchestral show on the 6th, which that's at 6 p.m. And then another one on the 7th. We're doing 2 shows, so one at 3:30 and one at 6 p.m. But you can find all those details, I think, on the Acme website.
Definitely, yeah. And we'll put a link to that as well up on our website. How are you feeling about being able to get out there and meeting fans of the game as well? Is that something that you're pretty excited about?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, not necessarily just fans, but like just meeting other people I just like chatting with other game developers and people that like games, and it's fun to hang out.
Awesome. Now, apart from Melbourne International Games Week, what have you got coming up or coming out that people can look forward to as well?
Coming out. So we are putting out an update to the game pretty soon, and there's going to be a bunch of new music in that. So yeah, that's probably like the next thing that I'll have coming out after the Games Week stuff. And then after that, honestly, I'm not really sure. I'll see what happens, see what comes. I would like to work on some like original Riverboy tracks. So hopefully I can release some solo music as well if I can find the time.
Awesome. Well, Narayana, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an absolute honour having you on the show, and we cannot wait to see what you have in store for us on the 5th, 6th and 7th at Melbourne International Games Week. Thank you so much, mate.